واحد عنده English بيسأل English. So tell us about your experience first before we get into anything. How was your experience with Pfizer? Mine was good. أنا أخذت الصيني.
أنت أخذت الصيني؟ Okay. أنا أخذت Pfizer. But my son, يعني my son is 16, and the minute they opened it for people who are above the age of 16, I made him take it. He took it. I can tell you what happened between me and between him. He took it. From the first dose, both of us were pretty much the same. ما صار شيء فينا يعني. I was fine, everything was good, nothing happened whatsoever there on the first dose. The second dose, الحين I have to admit, when I took it, and also my parents took the Pfizer one, it happened what is usually that happens to people who take vaccines. And this is not something, I don't want to raise the alarm for people. Okay, it was a little bit more painful. Okay, so I have big shoulders, but it was a little bit more painful. Plus, at the same time, there was, at least for me, about 12 hours of feeling chills, and I was also fatigued.
Yeah.
So that was after
me too. Me too.
And did you have it with your first and second dose? Well, you only took one dose.
My second dose is due this Friday, and this is why I have a question to you also. Eventually, when we get into that, but I felt after I took the vaccine, I had, to be very honest, a severe pain in my area where I took it, in my hand. I had a bit of running nose for 2 days, and I had a bit of slight fever the second day, but it just disappeared quickly. يعني ما كان عندي حرارة, and that was it. You know, my parents took it.
And this is a normal reaction.
Normal reaction, but my father, funny enough, when he took it, he had a bit of numbness in his tongue in the first 2 days, and he didn't say. He told me afterwards. I said, "Why did you tell me afterwards?" And no, if something happened, what do I do? But I believe that people are okay. Let me tell you, Anna, my feedback from the people I see. يقول لك لا 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 أنا ما بدي أخذ Chinese. Like no Pfizer فيه chip بيفوت على الجسم, they can monitor you and all this crap. Okay, and we have to wait for the Russian vaccine. It's 100% perfect. ما حدا فهمن شيء. Nobody understands anything, and they don't know it's only different brands. That's it. I assume. So Anna, what I think you should start with is define the products, define the upcoming one, which is Johnson & Johnson you mentioned, and let's move from there. And we'll take the questions from people and we'll see what they have to say.
Let's take it up with let's go scale even further back, and let's talk about a little bit what are vaccines and why people take vaccines. So vaccines are usually made for pretty much the masses, for them to get an immune response to a certain organism, whether it was a virus or whether it's a bacteria, etc. So that's it kind of triggers an immune response from the body, so that once we get it later on, or once the body gets introduced by that organism, sees it again, فيتعرف عليه, and then it does not cause any symptomatology. So that's the thing. Vaccines have really changed a big thing when it comes to humanity. And if we're talking about in the early 20th century, الناس اللي عندهم بوليو, تقدر تسمع عن بوليو, اللي هو الكساح اللي يصير حق الناس, that caused a lot of people to become paralyzed for life. And some people actually died because of polio until the polio vaccine came. Once the polio vaccine came, things got a little bit better. People, famous people who had polio, if you remember, Franklin Roosevelt, اللي هو رئيس أمريكا during World War II, he had polio. So that's the reason why he's always sitting down, Jim Churchill. He's never standing, he's always sitting, because he had polio. So polio really changed everybody when it comes to that aspect. So these are vaccines. Now, there are different ways of creating a vaccine. For the whole concept, and we're trying to kind of educate our immune system. Now, how to educate it? For our immune system to be educated, it has to be exposed to that virus, well, to that antigen. We like to call it an antigen. And it's something that's outside. So how do we do this? We can either take the virus, نخففها شوية, we make it tired, and then we introduce the virus inside. This is known as live attenuation. معناتها it's a normal virus, okay, but it's slightly weaker, and we bring it inside, and then the body responds to it and creates antibodies.
Sorry, apologies. So it applies to all the vaccines?
No. This is the ways of making vaccines. So I'm telling you about ways of making vaccines. The problem with live vaccines, إن شيء يصير فيهم إن if they're introduced in the body, they can switch and they become active. So you end up having the disease that you're trying to prevent. Okay, so that's the live vaccines. Okay. Now they've fallen out of fashion. Nobody does live vaccines anymore. لأن مثل ما احنا قلنا, it has that negative connotation. The other way is to inactivate the vaccine. The way to inactivate the vaccine is that we introduce certain chemical compounds into the virus itself, so that once it's injected, ينحقن الvirus, what happens is that it is not able to replicate. Okay, it's able to introduce the immune system, but it's not able to kind of grow inside the cells. Okay? That's the traditional way. So you have these two ways: the live attenuation, which is the live vaccine. The other one is the inactive vaccine. From the corona one, the inactive ones are the ones that you took, which is the Chinese ones. So Sinopharm and Sinovac are your classic traditional ways of making vaccines. Okay, that's how you do it. And there are a number of other vaccines that follow the same way. Hepatitis A is one of them, and other vaccines is also, tetanus is also another one. So another thing, basically, and all of these are the ways of creating vaccines. Then you have other ways of creating vaccines. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about Rusi, because a lot of people are asking about Rusi, is the recombinant ways of taking vaccines. The whole point, and I want to try to introduce the virus to educate my immune system. So how do I introduce the virus? But instead of putting the virus inside, what's happening is that I take the things that are part of the virus itself, the coronavirus. I put it in another virus. So it's like you're combining two viruses together. Okay, so putting another virus, and then I introduce it into the system. That can be either so the virus that I'm using is something that's outside. So that can either be, for example, the Oxford one, which is the AstraZeneca one, that follows that technology. What they did is that they took a virus that causes common colds for chimpanzees, okay, for monkeys. Okay, they removed the stuff that's inside it, so it does not basically cause any problems with us. They put the corona antigens inside, okay, and then they introduce it into our body. Then what happens is that our body produces antibodies against the coronavirus. Okay, so that's the AstraZeneca one or the Oxford one. The Russian is the exact same thing. However, rather than a chimpanzee, they're using another type of virus. Okay, so that's basically, so it's the same concept. So it's the same concept,
but the different composition. انتوا بتسموها sorry, I don't know how they.
الهدف at the end of the day is to elicit an immune response. We're trying to make the immune response get a reaction with it. There are different ways to do that. One, مثل ما احنا قلنا, we either put the virus inside, which is the traditional way, which is an inactive virus مثل الطيني. The other one, we kind of شلينا الفاكسين حطيناه في سيارة ثانية. Okay, and then we put it in another vehicle, and we put it basically inside the body, and then you end up with the vaccines. Then the third way is which is the newer ways, which is basically made by Pfizer and Moderna, is to actually see. So the way that the virus works on our body, so a virus has like a lock, a key, and the body has a lock. So for the virus to get inside the cells, it uses its key to go into the lock. It opens the lock and it goes inside. Okay? So what happens is that for you to prevent this from happening, you need to produce antibodies to stop the key. Okay? So the RNA viruses, they take the coding of the key They put it inside your body, then you produce the antibodies, just the antibodies for it. So there's no virus that's being kind of moved. غير عن مثل the inactive virus, so like such as the one that you took in the Sinopharm one, or the Russian one, in which there's a combination of two viruses. The only thing that's there is just genetic material of that key. So it prevents it from opening.
نرجع من عيد, so we can just make it clear. So the Chinese Sinopharm has a type of a virus that's injected inside your body, yes, that creates the antibodies. The Pfizer, okay, can we explain what antibodies is? لأن كله بيتفلسف بيحكي antibodies, كله فهمان antibodies. Can we just explain what antibodies are and how beneficial are they? And how long do they stay in the body, by the way? And when I get vaccinated, and let's assume I don't produce, is there a possibility, ما بدي نط هلا على السؤال. Let's say the differences. So Sinopharm Chinese is a type of virus injected in 2 doses, right? Or more?
Yes. 2 doses.
Inactive in 2 doses. And let's assume you don't develop antibodies. In that case, what do you do?
Okay. So then you need to, if you don't develop antibodies, which can happen, okay, then you need to try out a different way of doing it. Okay, that means your body did not elicit an immune response to it. Okay, فمعناته ان there's something wrong with your body. And let's put it this way: your body is not an A student; it's probably a C or a D student. Okay, it's not getting educated.
معفن. عفن البودي كله.
It needs special classes for it to actually start producing the antibodies. And hence the reason why you may want to switch, for example, to another, to another vaccine, or you give the vaccine again as remedial. They're doing a reset exam. They're doing a دور ثاني.
So the doctor will advise you. So do you advise that? عم بحكي Chinese بعدنا. So let's assume I take the Chinese, I don't develop antibodies. أنا حكينا شوي على side effects اللي بتصير, which is very طبيعي. Where do I go to check that I've built antibodies? لأنه I heard in the UAE we're not allowed to do the test anymore. So how do I know I've developed it?
That's a good question. And عادة يعني usually you do it through labs. There are certain labs that does that for you. مثل ما أنت قلت هنا في الإمارات المختبرات هذه صارت ما تسوي الانتيبوديز unless specified by a doctor. يعني there are certain hospitals. Okay, usually they're either government hospitals or one of the big hospitals. I had a patient who showed me antibodies that was taken down by I don't want to name any hospitals, but it was done by a certain hospital. But hospitals will do it. You won't have it in private labs, but definitely some hospitals will do it.
So you do advise to do antibodies that...
You want to talk about a little bit about antibodies شوية?
لا انا عم بحكي انه البروسيس لكل فاكسين, لانه I think there's a bit of a confusion. انا فهمت عليك بس I'm just trying to make it simpler. So عم نحكي Chinese اول شيء. So if we don't develop it, we'll get to antibodies. We have to see a doctor after our second dose. هلا Pfizer, how many doses?
Also 2.
Also 2. And what's the virus type? You said mRNA, right? So what is
it? So exactly. So there is no virus here. So we're not injecting the virus. We're injecting the code for the key of the virus.
So it is an actual. So هيدا code بجسمك بيصير in your body.
We're injecting. So the RNA. So the body is made up of DNA and RNA. So the RNA is a genetic code. As if you're going to, instead of being educated the whole way of your immune system, we're just giving them. I want you to study this chapter. So that's what they're doing. So you're only. A little bit.
No, okay. You're back,
so you're telling the body, and this is the chapter that I want you to read because this is the chapter that you're going to be examined on. Okay?
Okay.
So that's the RNA. You're only given a small portion of the virus, not the whole virus, just the portion of the virus that allows the virus to get into the cell. And
okay, so
that's
لأنه now we are taking Chinese and we're taking Pfizer. So which one is better?
There's no which one is better, only which one is not better. So the Chinese,
so we can tell everybody there's no better here.
There is no better. The Chinese one follows the traditional way of doing vaccines. This is the traditional old way. We've always been doing it. Okay? So it's as if I'm giving you, think of it this way. أنت في المدرسة, you're in school. Okay, the professor gives you a whole textbook telling you the exam is going to come from this textbook. Okay, so what happens?
Okay.
You need to study the whole textbook, right? And then you get examined on a certain subject, on that material during the exam. The RNA vaccine, which is the Pfizer one, the professor is not giving you the textbook. He's giving you the chapter. The exam is coming from this chapter. Study the chapter, and that's it. So it's a little bit more efficient than the other vaccine. Okay, so but it's not better than the other one. It's the same thing. It all has to do with how the body responds to it. So that's the reason why
okay. Somebody said that the Chinese is 86% efficient efficiency traditional method, and Pfizer is new way of vaccination RNA. I didn't get it. But obviously مثل ما عم نحكي. طب الروسي هلا we know that Pfizer we don't have it here anymore. We heard. Okay, I don't know if it's true. Okay. What about the Chinese? What's the difference كمان? مش Chinese, sorry, Russian.
So the Russian, what it does is that the Russian takes a virus that causes the cold. It's a different virus, not the coronavirus. Okay. It's another virus. It's an adenovirus. So what it does is that the adenovirus causes the cold for us. ناخذ احنا هالفيروس هذا، ناخذ the genetic makeup of the corona, we put it inside the virus, and we give you the actual virus itself.
So it's another model of doing it, basically.
It's another model. The Russian and Oxford vaccines are exactly the same من ناحية recombination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But the
and what's
شو اسمه؟
أنت موديرنا أي وحدة؟
Take it easy. You're cutting me off.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah. So the Oxford one is the same as the Russian one, but the Oxford one uses a different species that doesn't cause us to have any problems. But it's still the same technology. So the Russian one may cause you to have the common cold. لكن the Oxford one will not cause you to have the cold.
So the Oxford one أي واحدة؟ sorry عم بحاول أفهمها. صار عندنا 4 vaccines عم نحكي عنها. Okay.
AstraZeneca.
What's it called? AstraZeneca. And what about Moderna?
Moderna مثل Pfizer. Moderna من الاسم لو تشوفينها modified RNA. It's modified RNA Moderna.
Moderna. Yeah. And you have a Johnson & Johnson coming out. Or a Johnson.
Yeah, it's still in early phases. Yeah, and if it's going to come out, it's going to come out after a few months. But yeah, if it's going to get approved yet. So I mean, we don't know yet. So there's not much known about the vaccine apart from the fact that it's only 1 dose, so it doesn't require any multiple doses. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about antibodies. What is antibodies? That's for everybody's information.
Okay, so when it's very simple. So if you have, say for example, you get chickenpox. Okay, let's give you an example of chickenpox. So you get chickenpox. You're exposed. So what happens is that you have a cell, which is your immune cell. This is the chickenpox vaccine. The chickenpox virus comes in. It eats the cell. It eats the virus, breaks it down, and then gives it to another cell. Okay.
Okay.
So now the body started to educate itself against this. Think of it this way: you have somebody who's committed a crime. Okay, you with me? So somebody who's committed a crime. Somebody who's committed a crime, سرقة ولا theft ولا كذا ولا هالأشياء هذه. The central police find out the actual image of that guy, that person. Then it gives it to all the other different cells. And what happens is that the body is producing antibodies. If they find that person, they will catch him. Well, they will stop him from happening. And that's basically antibodies. The antibodies are basically the way that the body stops the organism from kind of coming inside the cells. And everybody produces antibodies. There are different types of antibodies. When you have a cold or when you have any type of condition, the first antibody that goes up is something called IgM. So IgM goes up.
Okay.
Then that's because IgM stops the initial infection from happening, because IgM is a big antibody. Then after this is gone, the infection is gone, you have something called IgG. Now, IgG
IgA?
is IgG. Yeah,
Okay.
IgG. IgG stays in your body for a long period of time. Okay, but with time, it slowly starts because there's no there's no virus around it. What happens? It starts going down. So the more exposed you are to the virus, the more your IgG you have with time. You're
Okay.
immune to it, but because of the IgG, you're protected from it.
All right.
Okay?
So we have
If
to
it go,
develop the IgG.
yes, if it goes below, then you can actually get infected because it's gone. معناتها خلاص your immune system نسى الدرس, and it has to be
And
re-educated once again.
it goes when ممكن تختفي بعد قد
So
ايه بعد اي
there's a lot of things. If it keeps on getting exposed to the same virus, it can stay there for a long time. Most of the time, it all depends on the quality of the IgG. Sometimes it will last for about maybe 6 months. Sometimes it can last for years. And then, of course, you need a booster shot so you can maintain the IgG up to a certain level.
We're going to talk about this. Let me get to some questions now because you've explained everything. We didn't want to bore people, yeah, for over 20 minutes of talking about medical stuff. First of all, a lot of people are taking the vaccine and then they get the corona. All right? So, بيروحوا بياخدوا الvaccine. After 2 days, they get the corona and they get it either very strong or they get it very mild. Is this normal? And is it dangerous? And the same question applies if you take the second dose. How long is it for you to build? And do you still catch corona and do you still give it to others?
Okay, so من ناحية the efficacy of the vaccines, if you look at the Chinese one, which is Sinopharm, it's about 86% effective. معناته 86% effective. 86% of the people who are going to become vaccinated or who get vaccinated by that will not get it, or if they get it, they will get a milder case of it. يعني يكون خفيف عليهم. Okay, but there is also still 14%. Those 14% can still get full-blown corona. Okay, that's basically how it works out.
Not even mild.
Not even mild. No,
they can be also strong.
They can get full-blown. Yes. Now, الحين they've also seen in the people who get the vaccine, however, nearly 100%, usually nothing is 100%, but nearly 100%, especially with the Sinopharm, based on the latest results that that people talk about, and it protects you from the severe form of corona. So because corona comes, there's different severities. So you are 100% protected from being in the ICU, say for example, because of failure of of all different organs, but you still may get it. You're still in between those 14%. So we don't know whether you're going to get it unless you check your antibodies. Okay.
And the question is, the people that get corona after the vaccine in 2 days, do you think they already had corona and they didn't know?
There's a possibility, yeah. I mean, the incubation period is a few days, so about 4 or 5 days.
Why we are not asked to do PCR tests before taking the vaccine?
It's counterintuitive. Yani what's going to happen is you're going to, it's much better for you to take the vaccine, because what happens is that even though the PCR may be positive, you could be a carrier. Yani you don't have corona, you don't have symptoms, you're just carrying the virus, and you're not building an immune response to it. So it's much better to actually take the vaccine if you do have it, even if you don't know.
And example, you mentioned in 6 months we might need to take a booster. هي الvaccine that we take supposed to stay for how long? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years?
If you think about it, most vaccines that we take, for example, look at the tetanus vaccine. The tetanus vaccine should be taken at least every, anywhere between 7 to 10 years. That's what they would recommend. The same thing with hepatitis, because, like I said, your body becomes less educated to it and you need to booster it. Now, there are other things, for example, now we're talking about different strains of COVID. The virus is getting different strains. So if you look at, for example, the flu vaccine, what's happening with them is that because every year you have a different strain, that's the reason why you always have to be given the shot to boost your immune system. And this is what I'm assuming is going to happen with COVID. And every probably, either 6 months or maybe every year, you're going to need a booster shot.
Okay. There's a guy who's asking, doctor, please clarify in case any difference for the people was positive before. Anyway, maybe if somebody was positive before, can they take the vaccine? maybe. That's what
Yes.
he says.
Yeah, yeah. If they are positive before, في ناس صاروا يقولون no, wait 3 months or anything of that sort. No, take it because you don't know whether you actually have antibodies or not, and what did you develop like antibodies that will protect you? So it's much better for you to take it.
Okay. There's one lady saying that Emirates Hospital does antibodies test. Another one saying they stopped it. Okay, fine. This is okay. Which vaccine has an inactive virus? Sinopharm, no?
Sinopharm, yeah. The Sinopharm one is the inactive one.
And the active one is Pfizer.
No. The Pfizer is only the RNA, the genetic code. There is no active virus. Nobody injects active virus anymore.
Okay. What else should we highlight? Yani, these are the questions that I have at the moment. Everyone is saying hi.
Well, you're talking to me, and if one of the major things that people have a problem with is that especially in my practice, and whether this is going to cause any problems with them with their fillers, okay, or whether with problems with their Botox.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So فالناس كلهم خايفين من هالشيء هذا يعني they send me messages يطرشوا لي مسجات يسألوني
Imagine everyone who's got fillers and Botoxes, you will actually know them. They will get like bumps everywhere.
Yeah, so now this is an extremely rare thing to happen. Now it can happen, but it's extremely, extremely rare. Now officially it's been reported only in 3 cases in the US, okay? Even though there are more now because I belong to a group and they're talking about more, but only 3 cases. Believe it or not, 2 of them had the active vaccine, 1 of them had the placebo. So I don't know how they developed it, but it happened. It happened with Moderna. Most of it happened with Moderna. We don't have Moderna yet. Now Moderna is very similar, follows the same technology as Pfizer. Okay?
As Pfizer,
now, yeah, so we haven't seen it much with Pfizer, but people are talking about it. And هني في الإمارات because Pfizer is not utilized as much. Okay, لأن it's only كان موجود بس حق فترة معينة وحين الظاهر يعني for now it's been halted. And only the Sinopharm has been used. Sinopharm has not been associated with any swelling that I know of, any في الإمارات that's caused due to the effect of filler that was there.
No, it didn't cause any effects to anybody. Everyone was fine. صراحة يعني. It was a good vaccine. There is also one more question. Precautions. Everyone is thinking like, hey, we took the vaccine, now خلاص عادي. We'll sit with everybody, we can take off the mask, we can get close to everyone. So we still have to take our precautions, even if we take the vaccine and get COVID and give it, right? We still have to...
Exactly. And I believe this is what's happening الحين هني في الإمارات, and it's because people have been vaccinated and they believe in خلاص everything is okay. But no, I mean you still have to follow certain precautions because of this. And so there are when you take the vaccine, remember you need time for your body to produce antibodies. Okay, so that's one thing. So this time can usually is anywhere between at least maybe 2 or 3 weeks after your second dose. Okay. In addition, you may be, and you belong to the group. Remember, this is only 86%. 86% respond. There is a 14%. You could be in one of those 14% that you may not have responded. So why put yourself in that position for to remove the mask and you start mingling with other people?
طب دكتور, I have a very nice question. I have a very nice question. نحن هون بالإمارات we're 9 million, okay? Let's assume everybody took the vaccine. Do we start building immunity not to get COVID, يعني, to kill the virus within the UAE by getting vaccinated?
If all of us are vaccinated, yes. And the vaccines are very effective the way that they are, then definitely.
We can.
People talk about, some people talk about in a 70, 80% of the people should be vaccinated until they do that.
They should be vaccinated until to do what? Sorry.
No, so you need to, for you to get this herd immunity in which you are protected, you need at least anywhere between 70 to 80% of the population. But if you have 100% of the population, then yes, theoretically you are protected.
We are protected. There's one lady here, Lamis, she's a friend, okay. Oxford vaccine, we have it here in London. It is a live one because they inject you with the antibodies. Okay, we just spoke about this. That's fine. بدي أطلع على الأسئلة الثانية. What else can we highlight? يا الله, comments are so funny. Anyway. في حدا كان عم بيقول if someone catches COVID in between doses. هيدي نور. Hi Noor.
Yes.
Should they continue with the second dose or wait 3 months and repeat the process?
No, if they are asymptomatic, take the second dose. If they're symptomatic, wait. Yeah, if they're symptomatic, wait until you're symptom-free and then take the second dose.
And the second dose. Sarah is asking how to produce the IgG. يعني إذا أنت you produce the IgC, I think you mentioned. IgN, sorry. No. How do you make sure you reach to the IgG?
No, you know, your body does that automatically. I mean, you can't control it. I mean, some people have very strong response, a very strong IgG. Those are, you know, people who are with strong immunity. And there are some people who are with weak immunity. And the people who are with weak immunity, عادة يكون عندهم مثل السكر, يكون عندهم other مثل cancer, other chronic conditions that will weaken their immune system. Those people with weaker immune systems won't produce very strong IgGs.
But they're allowed to take the vaccine.
Yeah, they're allowed to take the vaccine, absolutely.
There. في حدا عم بيقول هون people who have COVID, how soon they can get the vaccine? I think we mentioned it, but you can mention it again.
Like I said, the minute they're symptom-free, they can start. They can take it. It's completely okay.
Can we mix two vaccines? Good question.
No. You can't mix it because we talked about how the different technologies are completely different. No company will tell you, even scientifically, it doesn't make sense to try to mix it. مثل ما قلت لك it's remember the textbook. If you're giving a textbook and then and for example, if I give you the chapter, okay, only a chapter, and I tell you this, I want you to study this, and then I examine you on the book, you did not even read the book. So your body is not, you may fail in the exam. For the same thing with this, if you take one form of vaccine and combine it with another form of vaccine, you may not elicit a strong immune response to it. So it's much better to do it in following the same technology.
All right, another question, doctor, what's the fuss about zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D, C to build the immune system? What's the mg to intake every day? What's the basically process to take vitamins to help yourself?
I can tell you, when it comes from all of the ones that are mentioned, vitamin D is the one that really helps and has been associated with COVID. And making sure that your vitamin D levels are appropriate is going to be the best. So personally, people should take at least anywhere between 1,000 a day in terms of their vitamin D supplements. طبعا, this is, I would recommend taking it as supplements. Don't go to the solarium. So if Wadia Najjar is there, please tell him not to go to the solarium.
وين وديته يسمعنا. Okay, عندنا يوسف الخالدي. He's based in the US. فعليا كاتب بالعربي، فعليا هو كالقصص أو ستوري على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي، لا يحتوي على الفيروس إنما على صورة له ومعلومات عنه تساعد جهازنا المناعي على تكوين الأجسام المضادة لقتله. والله اللي عم نشوفه على الانستغرام لحاله هيدا weakens the immune system يا خالد. But let the doctor, I think, answer. Would you advise a particular vaccine according to age?
According to age, it all depends on the studies that are being done. So usually the ones that are the RNA one has not been studied in children yet, so we don't know. The traditional ones, the inactivated ones, have been studied in children. That's the reason why Sinopharm have started doing it with people who are younger than 18. So anywhere between 16 and above, they started doing it. So because they're considered to be safer because it's been done before, follows the same technology. The Pfizer is such a new technology. Remember, Pfizer and Moderna, especially Moderna, has never, there's no other vaccine that's been made using that technology, no other vaccine at all. But it's so new and we don't know the effect of it on children, and hence the reason why it's not recommended. No studies were done on children. Okay. And if they do get approved, it will be approved by anywhere between 2023 to 2024 because it's going to take so long for them to do them. Yeah.
If I'm a pregnant woman, can I breastfeed after taking the vaccine?
So it's one in the things that's there. It tells you what people should, people who are excluded from the vaccine, people who are not a part of the vaccine. And one of the exclusion criteria is pregnancy. So if you are pregnant, then it's not recommended to actually take the vaccine.
Take it. Okay.
Mm.
But after delivery, she can, no?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, believe it or not, you can get, some people have IgG. IgG is produced, so it's in the breast milk. So you can theoretically also protect the baby if they get it.
That's why women should breastfeed صراحة. في حدا بيقول لك دكتور please احكي بالعربي. Can you save the life, please? Yes, we'll save it. No worries. Okay. If people get allergic reactions, how do they resolve this? Is there a way to, يعني إذا أخذوا, if they take the actual vaccine and they had allergic reaction to it, what's the solution for something like that? So no one gets scared, if there is a solution.
So, عادة, this is what happens. A really severe allergic reaction, if it happens with a vaccine, happens within the first maybe 15 to 20 minutes. That's the reason why it's very important for them. A lot of people who get the jab, they should stay على الأقل ينتظرون في المنطقة هذه وين العيادة to see if there is any reaction. And usually the reaction would be الضغط مرة واحدة ينزل, وي مرات ينتفخ. They get this is a severe type of reaction that they're afraid that may cause, is potentially life threatening. الشفايف تنتفخ, العيون تنتفخ. هاي إذا صارت within the first few minutes, and that's the reason why anybody who gets the jab, I think they tell you this, to stay for 20 minutes until to wait until everything's okay. Now, anything that happens after is not considered to be an immunological response, but it could be a reaction to your immune system reacting to the vaccine. This will include مثل ما احنا قلنا the chills, the malaise, التعب اللي يصير. Some people get a little bit of a runny nose.
If you get allergies, can you take like medicines with it while you have the vaccine? يعني إذا صار لك allergic reaction, عادي, okay.
If for example, if you get an allergic reaction in the hospital, they'll definitely take care of you. They'll give you antihistamines. They might give you some, probably a steroid shot. It depends on how severe your allergy is. And if your blood pressure is low, they'll try to bring it up by giving you fluids and so forth. So it's, you'll be taken care of. Now, if you do develop something that's outside, لما تطلع برا and you start getting, you get an itch or anything of that sort, or you get fever, you can take, اللي هو مثل البنادول ولا الادول, you can take it عشان يخفف شوي من الحمى. You can also take antihistamines إذا صار عندكم مثل طفح جلدي, فit's completely okay.
All right, I'll go quickly through this because in 5 minutes we need to end this. Okay, so suggest daily dose of vitamins. Any recommendations so they can keep on going? إلنا vitamin D وزنك وvitamin C, no?
I'm a vitamin D proponent. Vitamin D is more than enough.
Yeah, for everything, صراحة, vitamin D is excellent. Can life return back to normal after we all take the vaccine as per the news?
If people follow if you want to go back to normal, follow the rules. Take the vaccine, stay socially distant, okay? Make sure everybody starts building up their immune system, okay, and then slowly things will go back to normal. But if people are still having issues, and I put in my Insta story, I put a poll, and only like 30% have taken the vaccine. Well, the 70%, I don't know what they're doing. They're afraid. I don't know what they're thinking about this. They're thinking about that.
And I'm just telling you, everybody's saying weird things. But that's why today we're clarifying everything,
And they tell you like, the vaccines usually take years and years and years for them to develop, look at Moderna or Pfizer. The technology there has been in the work for more than 30 years. 30 years.
Yeah.
Al-Hina, now it came up with a vaccine, but it's been going along for a long time. This is not something that just popped up. But the nice thing about it is that whatever it is that's happening now, don't compare it to what happened in the 60s. In the 60s, yes, vaccines took a long time for them to kind of happen. The technology took a long time. Now we're in 2021. If you want to have something, if you want to develop something, it happens like this.
Okay.
Faster than your Instagram filter.
اوكي سو بعد التطعيم قديش لازم ننطر حتى نكون مرتاحين؟ ما فيك ترتاحي يا مريم، بدك تضلك منتبهه يا مريم.
بالضبط. لا ترتاحون until the whole population يكون متطعم، بعدين الواحد شوي شوي يرتاح.
And I think this will take another year to just stabilize for us. Doctor, side effects, blah, blah, blah. For asthmatic people, any side effects for the vaccine on people who've got asthma or kidney problems?
The people who have kidney problems and people who have asthma should take the vaccine. ليش؟ Because they're the ones who are عرضة أن يسبب لهم مشاكل الكورونا. COVID will, if a person who's asthmatic ولا عنده kidney problems, if they end up with corona, they can end up in the ICU. They have to take the vaccine. They are one of the largest indicators of people who should take the vaccine.
Okay, Fee, very nice question also. Pfizer, since it's out of stock, it's not there. If people don't take the second dose, what should they do if it's not there?
They don't have the second dose?
هلا ما في بقى second dose. لا يعني في ناس ما أخذت second dose and Pfizer is not available anymore here. So ما صار في orders extra.
Let's fix this up together. This misinformation. على كلام DHA on their website and officially, everybody who is scheduled for the second dose will get the second dose. Nobody will get the first dose again, okay, until everything starts to clarify, but everybody who is scheduled for a second dose will get it.
Is it true that there are deaths related to the vaccine? Anybody died because of the vaccine?
So in Norway, there was about I believe 23 people who died, but they were at the age of anywhere between 70 to 80, and they had really chronic conditions, and they had problems. They took the vaccine, and I think a week or two after that they died. So, but when you're doing something like this, it's difficult for you to say that it's the vaccine's fault. Okay, because these guys already have comorbidities, diabetes, heart failure, kidney failure. They're already old. Okay, so it's difficult to say that this is the vaccine, or it could be that what they have initially.
Yeah. واحدة very interesting also. If someone has arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, still with this disease that have been with her since 3 years of age, and now she's 44. Is the vaccine still recommended?
So people with immunological issues usually are not recommended to have the vaccine. So the rheumatoid arthritis is considered to be an immunological problem. So I would definitely ask her to check with her rheumatologist to see if he would allow her to take the vaccine, if her condition is okay for her to take the vaccine or not.
And who has Hashimoto? I think Hashimoto is
also an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
All right, Zaina, we have to wrap this up.
Yeah, we have to conclude. Guys, thank you very much. اللي عنده أي أسئلة can add Dr. Hassan and ask him privately. They will be hammering you with a lot of questions. Thank you so much.